My village is normal. Like a weird normal, though. Everyone is too pleasant and trusting, and any trace of unpeaceful human nature has never been seen here. Obviously, I'm not complaining. The ability to live carefree was truly something I savored. It was a fairly small village that was quite literally in the middle of nowhere. You can drive for hours on end in any direction until you saw signs that any other life even existed. It was just a group of old but cozy buildings, linked by worn, cobbled streets that twisted and turned delicately in an endless trail like a huge snake chasing its tail. Surrounding the town was an endless expansion of fields, full of crops and animals of all kinds that stretched beyond what the human eye could possibly see. The village consisted of about 50 houses, most rather occupied by an elderly couple who had moved away from the city in an attempt at a peaceful retirement, or by your stereotypical family, consisting of a mother and father with 2 children. Towards the center of the village was a fountain, surrounded by shops like butchers and bakeries that filled the air with delicious scents that was hard to resist, and greengrocers with windows that were obscured by stacks of crates filled with fresh fruits and vegetables that glistened in the sunlight, offering their delightful juiciness like some sort of subtle propaganda. Of course, there were other stores for everything, from simple bookstores to extravagant newsagents, just like every other rural village. Back when I was a child, my friends and I would chase each other around the twisting lanes, shouting and laughing, role-playing as heroes, chasing down and destroying monsters of all kinds. Everything from fire-breathing dragons that could break the sky in two with a mere roar, all the way to a giant horde of phantom black spiders with dripping fangs of poison, just like every group of children our age did. I recall the details of my village to you because I need you to understand just how normal everything was, how peaceful it all was. That was until the first body was found. I was only 6 at the time, so I don't remember much at all, really, apart from my mother sitting me down one rainy afternoon, her eyes welling up with tears that she was trying so desperately to hold back, and telling me in a soft voice that Joey wouldn't be coming out to play anymore, and that I probably shouldn't go knocking asking about him. I thought nothing of it at the time. After all, I was only 6, and I didn't yet understand fully how the world worked, so I know why my mother shielded me from the truth. She did what every normal mother would. Life, for me at least, went on as normal, with the exception of my friend group being 1 player down. I had, however, noticed that all the adults seemed to be more on edge. It was the small actions, like starting to lock the doors and windows at night, and curfews being put into place by our parents. I realize now that despite them all having once been very close, no one truly knew who was safe. After 1 dead child turned up, no one was willing to take any risk. The local police department was practically non-existent, because in its centuries of history, the most crime we'd ever seen was things like petty theft, and small fights over menial reasons that were quite quickly resolved. So there was quite simply no need for it. Slowly, things went back to a normal of sorts. It was now just over 2 years after Joey's body had been found, and while tensions were still higher than they were previously, they had slightly been relaxed. So life, for me especially, was as it was before Joey. But then the 27th of August arrived, the 3-year anniversary of Joey's death, and with it, another body. This one was a girl from the south of the village, and this time, 9-year-old me could now understand the situation more clearly. I was driven by curiosity and a need to prove that I was strong. This led me to listening through walls to a point where I overheard truly what was happening. Not only were the children being killed, but they were being carved up like cattle. Each individual limb was apparently being cut off with delicacy, laid out in some sort of sick OCD lineup. Each finger and toe were lined up in an order, followed by hands and feet, and then the arms, and then the legs, followed by the torso. At the very end of the lineup was a severed head. The face always contorted in absolute agony, and bit in ways that should not have been humanly possible. It was apparently obvious that the child had suffered a great deal before their demise, and it was most likely that their limbs were separated while they were still alive. The man that I had swore to become had vanished without a trace, now leaving behind the scared little child that I'd always been. I just tried to hide it. The killings never stopped. Every 3 years since the death of Joey, on that faithful day of August the 27th, another child was found, even now, 29 years after the first victim, cut to pieces and lined up in the exact same order. News of these persistent killings never reached the world outside these plain fields, but that was probably for the best though. I thought to myself as I watched the clock strike midnight, drawing in the new day, the 27th. I stood up and casually walked over to the next room, pulling the shining blade from the back of my trousers, and approached the small figure lying flat on the cold tiled floor. After all, my village is normal. A good normal. Everyone is untrusting of each other, and any trace of peaceful human nature has never been seen here for 30 years. Obviously, I'm not complaining. The ability to live carefree was truly something I savored.